everyone. Welcome to another Talk Real Estate Tuesday. I am Ashley Nate, and I come live on Tuesdays to talk about relevant real estate topics. So today we're going to kind of bring it back to basics. It is a new year. I know some of you probably have on those resolutions to do something that involves real estate this year. Maybe that's buying your first house, maybe it's your next home, maybe it's your first investment property. But some of you, I'm guessing, probably have a real estate related goal on that list. So what I want to talk about is how to reach your real estate goals. And like I said, we're going to go really back to the beginning, what the first steps are for making those happen. So when I say first steps, I'm not talking about the first steps being get a pre-approval and going and looking at houses. There's a lot of things that happen even before that point that if this is going to be something you're going to make a reality this year, these are my tips for you, kind of more so a mindset and those initial actions that you need to take, if you will. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do in order to make those goals a reality, if you have those on your list, is to actually accept and believe that that can happen for you. Believe that it is possible for you. Don't just assume that it's not because you don't have enough money saved up, maybe you don't think your credit is high enough, or maybe you just don't know much about it. So you just kind of dismiss that goal as assuming that, yeah, maybe one day I'll do that, but that's just not possible for me right now, because there's probably a lot that you don't know, and there's probably a lot that's more possible for you than you might think. So the first thing that you need to do is just accept that this is a goal of mine, believe that you can make it happen, speak it out loud, and go for it. So buying and selling, as we know, it's a big process. It requires a lot of work. It requires some expertise in order to navigate that. And if that feels overwhelming to you, then you're not alone. So according to a survey online, 1 out of every 5 respondents saw a lack of information or knowledge about the home buying process as being a barrier to owning a home. So 20% of people are simply not going after their home ownership goals because they don't have the information or knowledge about it. That's the barrier for them. And so those are the types of things I want to talk about today in terms of what you can do to overcome that. So your first step is to believe it's possible. Don't assume. Identify that this is a goal of yours. Speak it out loud and then go for it. So like I said, I don't want to say, okay, your first step is go get that pre-approval, go start looking at homes. Here's what the real first step is. So you've made it a goal, you believe it, you accept it, you feel it. Your first step from there is then just to simply make it a point to start learning, start listening to podcasts. Bigger Pockets podcast for real estate is a great one, especially on the investing front. Start following real estate accounts. If you're following this one, great, lots of great information for you there, but follow other real estate accounts on social media. Pick up some books, and maybe they're not just real estate related books, maybe they're also personal development and mindset books. Get into this belief that this is possible for you. Some other great places to learn, I really like Keeping Current Matters. It's a great place for lots of valuable real estate information. So make it a point to start learning. After that, as you're learning, you're building up this belief, like, this is interesting, I'm learning some things, I'm feeling more confident that I'm going to be able to do this. Then start asking questions. So call up a realtor friend, sit down with them for coffee, and just candidly get your questions answered. Call up a lender, find out what is needed in order for you to get a loan. Start assessing your budget and your savings. Look up what your credit score is. Start assessing what your current home equity is if you own a home currently, so that you know how much money that you have to go into the next purchase that you make. But start asking questions. So I've told the story before, but for us personally, we wanted to purchase an investment property, right? So it was always something that sounded like, oh, that'd be really cool to own a rental property, but that's like, only rich people do that. Nobody, we don't know how to do it. We don't have money to do it, and just dismissed it. Like I said, what I want you to not do is do do not dismiss these ideas you have, and don't just assume that it's out of the cards for you. So for whatever reason, you know, what we did was we did start learning. We started listening to Bigger Pockets and things like that. So we did that step one, start learning. We had the belief, we started learning, and then we went out and looked at a property. And then even though we had no idea how we were going to finance it, we just went and looked at it. And then you know what we did, which is the step that I just talked about? We started asking questions. So we simply called up a lender to ask, you know, we are interested in this property. We don't know if we can finance it, or like we don't have down payment money just sitting in savings. How are we going to do this? And she told us about a cash out refinance, which I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that, but basically we have a bunch of equity, or at the time had equity in our house to use. So we were able to tap into some of that in order to purchase our first investment property. We had no idea that we can do that. How did we find that out? We simply had that belief that, okay, this is going to be the year we make this happen for us. We started learning by listening to podcasts, reading the books, all that good jazz. And then we went and looked at the property, and we simply started asking questions, and we found out that we were able to do that when we would have not otherwise known that. So start asking questions. Sometimes I also think back to the first home purchase that we had made. I remember we were renting a condo, and then we were actually looking for something bigger to rent. And we didn't even, homeownership didn't even cross our minds. You know, we were just like, oh yeah, we're too young for that. We don't have money. Like, I don't know how to do that. Like, that's not for us yet. That's something like older people do. But anyways, my parents had mentioned interest rates are low right now. They were pretty good at the time. Why don't you guys just buy? And we're like, what? We don't have 20% down. That's one of the biggest myths out there, that you have to have 20% down to buy a home. You do not. But lo and behold, we started asking questions and finding out that, oh, why are we looking for another rental right now when we could just buy instead? We had no idea. So I always like to tell those two stories, because I think there is a lot of assumptions out there and belief that it's not possible for you to either buy that first home, buy your next home, or get into real estate investing, when it's probably likely more possible than you think. Or if anything, if you're not ready right now, if you start taking some actual action starting today, you can get yourself in position that you're ready faster than you otherwise would have been. Okay, so that's the next thing. Start asking questions. And so then last, from there, after you start asking those questions, start putting what you learned into action. Maybe you ask those questions and you find out from a lender that you're ready right now. You're able to get a pre-approval, and boom, you're off to the races and start looking. That's great. Maybe you start asking those questions and you find out there's a couple things that you need to do before you're ready. That's why it's so great that you ask those questions, because otherwise you, when you decided you were ready, then you hit that roadblock down the road. Now you're hitting that roadblock earlier, and you're able to prepare for it to put you in a better situation in the future. So maybe as you start asking those questions, you find out, okay, I need to do a couple things to eliminate some debt, work on my credit score a little bit. I need to save up a little bit. If you're doing real estate investing, maybe it's a matter of going in and getting kind of more competent and analyzing some deals and crunching numbers and getting more comfortable with that before you're ready to pull the trigger. So put what you learned into action to put yourself in a place that you are prepared to move forward. Okay. And so then once you've done those things, then you get to what is typically heard as the first step, which is to speak to a lender, get a pre-approval, and actually hit the ground running and start looking. But I hope that this provided some insight, because I think when we tell people that's what you have to do, sometimes that scares people off. Sometimes you need to do a little bit more building up on the mindset aspect, on the belief aspect, on the learning aspect, before people are ready to get to a point that they want to take that hard action step of actually getting a pre-approval and looking. Sometimes it takes a little bit of that belief building up in order to get there, learning more, asking questions, and that sort of a thing. So I am always an open book. If you do have questions, I've talked a lot about asking questions today. You're always welcome to reach out to me and pick my brain. No pressure. I'm always happy to help and share anything. But like I said, I hope that for those of you that are deciding that this is going to be your year to reach some sort of real estate goal, I hope that what I said today resonated with you and helped a little bit. And I will be back again next Tuesday for more Talk Real Estate Tuesdays. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and please feel free to reach out anytime if you have questions, and go after those real estate goals. You got this. I believe in you. See you later, guys.